Southwest face of Everest was really the great international challenge of the early 1970s, and the Japanese were the first in the field. They made a very serious attempt in the spring of 1970 with a big expedition, and they failed. And then in 1972 in the spring there was a big international expedition. They also failed. I desperately wanted to get onto the southwest face of Everest. It's the fascination of seeing and looking at what seems like a huge problem, an almost impossible problem, and then using your experience, your vision, to actually work out a route on it and then go there and actually do it. The logistics are just vitally important, and you've got to have the right kind of planning, you need the right team, you need huge teamwork. And I also realised you had to find a single sponsor, and you needed to find a single sponsor who was prepared to underwrite the expedition.
Barclays was founded by two Quakers, John Freeman and Thomas Gould, and the important thing about the Quakers is that they had to be pioneers. As they became trusted, as they became very successful businessmen, they were able to invest in other things as well. So this is something that's gone through Barclays' history. They've been pioneers themselves in the way they've adopted new technology, and they've also been prepared to invest in pioneers. I think what appealed to Barclays about the 1975 expedition was that it was an opportunity to demonstrate excellence. It was an opportunity to show that here was something that Britain could do well. And also the idea to get the Barclays name out there on a world stage. This was quite a risky venture for Barclays. However, they obviously felt that it was worth doing. I think they came to see themselves more as partners than sponsors. And from very, very early on, Barclays suggested that a member of their climbing club could actually take part as a member of the team. And Mike Rhodes was selected to take part in the whole expedition.
In 74-75, I was working for Barclays International in Bradford. They went to the Banks Climbing Club, which I was running, and they then asked me, as the best climber in the bank, because I knew all the climbers there, if I would be prepared to go. After I talked to them about what I'd done, and they realised that I could look after myself, they then accepted me onto the expedition. I didn't have those same aspirations as Doug and Dougal to get to the summit, but I was prepared to work really hard to put them there. For every little pyramid, there has to be a fairly broad base, and I was delighted to be part of that broad base.
Barclays gave us the very, very best possible chance of making it happen. It was the linchpin that enabled me then to put in place the strongest possible expedition I could. In every expedition, and for that matter in every sport, in every, say, football team or rugby team, you will have a team of players, all of whom are very, very good. But you'll have one or two who are geniuses. And in my case, there's no doubt about it, I knew my two strongest climbers were Doug Scott and Dougal Haston.
Because we all knew each other, respected each other, because Chris was on top of the job of organising, it did prove to be one of the best Everest expeditions. And the main thing is to make that first ascent. Not to be better than anyone else, but just to do the climb for the first time, to discover all the secrets for yourself. And I think all of us that go to the hills, even if it's doing a walk you've never done before, that thousands of others have done, the fact you don't know what's around that next corner is quite fascinating in its way. Certainly it is on a mountain where no one's been there before.
The biggest challenge, the biggest question on the expedition was, could we climb the rock band? We tried it on the right-hand side in 1972 and had seen that that wasn't the right side. And so in 1975 we went for the left-hand side, where there was a deep gully that went in at the left-hand side. You couldn't see what was inside the gully at all. Technically, that was probably the hardest bit of climbing on the southwest face of Everest. The day that they went for the summit, I was down at Advanced Base Camp, and it was a really gripping day. We'd actually seen them going across the summit's snowfield. They then vanished into the gully that leads up to the South Summit Gully, and we saw absolutely nothing at all. We wondered what the hell has happened. And then the following morning, and we kept the radio open the whole time, and I think it was about 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning that suddenly it crackled into life. And it was Doug's voice, very distorted, but we could just hear through that, we've made it, we've climbed it. And I just broke down in tears. It was, it still gets me. It was, you know, it was joy, absolute joy that they'd done it. It was fantastic, and it was an incredible achievement of theirs as well.
The whole arrival on the summit was absolutely fantastic, mainly because it was 6 at night, so there was an amazing sunset going on. The sun was filtering down through strands of cloud. There we were, just the two of us, miles from anyone else, right there in the midst of great nature in the raw, feeling part of something much bigger than ourselves going on here, you know, just wonderful feeling of belonging to the world. Unforgettable.
Statistically, from big Himalayan expeditions, 10% of the team members and Sherpas don't come back. We had 2 people die on the trip out of a small number.
You never get hardened to losing people on an expedition, but at the same time, it's something you've got to accept, because we were pushing the limits.
I guess that's the great sadness for people like Chris, took Braithwaite, and Hamish, and the rest of us that have managed to survive. Our great sadness is that about a dozen of our friends didn't come back from the mountains.
As far as Everest Southwest Face is concerned, it was a statement for British climbing. And we got together as a British team and succeeded.
Everyone knew that the bank had sponsored it and were really interested in what was happening with it.
This was something that was done very well. It was something that was done with integrity. It was something of which we can be proud. It was putting Britain and Barclays on an international map.
They were fantastic sponsors. Could we have done it in any other way? Who knows? But they certainly were a huge, huge help.
This idea that we are pioneers, that we are ambitious, is something that traces right through our history and should continue into our future.
I believe a pioneer is someone who is going about something in a completely original way. And the pioneer is the person who actually opens a road, if you like, by doing something which is followed by other people in the future.